What's up, guys? So we got a question from Bob, and it's a tough one, and it's a bit long, so bear with me. But we have a situation where Bob is a purple belt, and there's so many good things going on that he has during training, a lot of good things going on. But there's one bad thing going on in his life that's messing up everything, and it's something I relate to. So Bob's a purple belt. He's been competing, doing really well. His training's been going really well. And he has, done all this cool stuff. He's even moved into an instructing role now where he's helping out other people, right? And purple belt's kind of a good time to do that, right? Because you're good enough to where you can help out some of the newer people. He says that, he's helped his coach out in situations where he's able to be there for them. He's helping out these new students coming in there. He's kind of being a role model for some of the younger students. So many good things going on. But the problem is, he says, is that his father is getting sick from cancer. His father's been battling it for about 3 years, and he says that recently his father took a turn for the worst. Now, there's a lot of things that went into our conversation, but I asked him to boil it down to one question that he would like to ask so that I could be of help to him through a video. And he says his question is, how am I able to keep enjoying and continuing my progression in jiu-jitsu while dealing with this burden? And how can I act towards my coaches, teammates, and students, especially on these hard days? When he means act, he means like be there for them, right? For his coach, I need to be there to help my coach out. From the students that I'm teaching, I need to be there for them. For teammates, I need to be there to train. How do I be there for all those people? And he says, my current goals are trying to get as much competition in with my purple belt before promoted to my brown belt. So brother, thank you for the question. And there's some similarities to our situation, right? I was thinking about this because you just moved into an assistant instructing role, right? And when I found out that my mother had cancer, I had just became a full-time instructor, right? I became a full-time instructor in the summer of 2010. And then it was the next month, my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And I remember at first, though, it wasn't too bad. It seems kind of like you were, right? Where there probably was some hope. Yeah, we think we can fight this thing off. And with my mom, it was the same way. Like they gave us kind of a good prognosis, right? It's like, it's going to be okay. Maybe we can figure this thing out. It's not too bad yet. Let's start treating it. And, things were hopeful. Because of that hope being there, it never got me too bad, right? I was stressed out, but I was like, there for my mom. And I was like, yeah, mom, we can get this. We can do this thing together, right? And I'm going to be there for you every step of the way. And I would take my mom to the doctor. I would cook breakfast. I would, my mom would get hungry in the middle of the night. I'd go run and get food, whatever it was. I was there for, because again, I didn't have a normal job anymore. I was working at the gym, and, for the most part, it was okay. During this time period where things were hopeful, I was able to compete, I was able to fight, I was able to do all that stuff. In fact, in March of 2011, I was able to beat a black belt. I was a brown belt at the time. I was able to be a black belt in competition, right? I submitted him. And this was kind of a feather in my cap. I had never done this before. This was a peak for me at one point. And then later on in March of that same month, my mom's full body scan came back because they'd been treating her and they wanted to see how things had done. So they come back and they get the scan, and my mom's boyfriend was downstairs, and I came down and I was like, hey, how'd the scan go? Because I was excited, right? I was like, yeah, cross my fingers. And he told me, he's like, the scan came back terrible, right? Like it just literally spread everywhere. It was more aggressive than they thought, and that's it. That's all she wrote. So she's not going to be able to make it. They don't know how long it's going to be, but she's not going to be able to make it. And, it just took the wind out of my sails, brother. Like, I was angry, scared, I was frightened, I was just nervous. I was just pissed, right? Like, why her? Why her? Of all people, right? And, when that happened, man, like competition, that went out the window, because the stress, I don't know about you, Bob, but for me, when I compete, there's a lot of stress that comes from that, because like I can teach, have a good time. I love teaching. It's rewarding. I can train and have a good time. It's fun. When the minute I start to get ready for a competition, the environment in my mind and my body and even my training has to go up, and it has to become a little bit different, and it's a lot more stressful. And at that point, once that hope was gone, I couldn't do it. It was just too much. I was supposed to have a fight in April, right? Like right after my mom's full body scan results came in, and I had to call the promoter. I told him I was injured. I wasn't injured. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't train. I remember going into the gym, and we were doing pad work, and I was just like messing everything up. I was going in to train and do MMA, and I remember just like getting beat up by guys that like normally I could be fine with. I just couldn't do it. I was like, I can't do this. So I could coach and teach. I could train a little bit, but I couldn't do that. And so I backed off from a lot of the hard training. And so during this time, you got to keep in mind that I wasn't working a normal job, and I had backed off a lot of the training. I was teaching a few classes a day, and that's all I was doing at that time. And the rest of the time I spent with my mother. And I was happy I did it because it was in like, I think like late May. We were sitting out there having breakfast one morning, right? It was nice and warm morning, sun's out, it's bright, and we're having breakfast together. It was a good day for my mom. She was able to eat food and she felt pretty good and she was talkative. And I remember just thinking back at it, I was like, man, I had so much time to spend with her. And my mom and I were kind of stoic, at least back then, and we didn't really talk all the time. Like, we would talk, but we didn't like express ourselves fully to each other all the time. And when she got sick and we knew things were going to go, we became very expressive towards each other. And we let everything out there. So we talked about everything that we wanted to talk about. We laid it out there. And I was so happy that we'd done that, right? Because it would have been something that I know if I wouldn't have done that, it's something I would have wished I would have done that, right? And my mother passed away in July of 2011 when I got my black belt. And then it was some months later before I could compete again, right? Because I had to wait for everything to die down. And to share an analogy with you, when I was thinking about the situation that you're in and I'm thinking about the situation that I was in, it reminds me of I was reading a biography of Emerson, and he was talking about when he was coming back from Europe. And there's a point, and this is in the 1800s, right? He's in his boat, obviously a sailboat, whatever, and he's in his boat, and the boat runs into a storm, and the storm just batters his boat up, right? And the boat can't do anything. It's stuck in the storm. It has no control. It can't get out. It can't get out of the storm. It's just stuck, and it has to wait it out. And everybody was locked down to their living quarters, and they just had to wait it out. And when I think about the situation that you and I were in, that I was in, that you're in right now, I think about that storm, right? You're in a storm right now, and it's beating you up, man, in ways you probably don't even realize. I know for me, like, there were things that were happening inside my body that I didn't realize, because as things got worse with my mother, it was more stress on me, and I was having things like panic attacks and stuff. I didn't even know a panic attack was a real thing. I thought it was bullshit. And then I had one. I was like, what is this? And I realized it was just the stress being laid on me, right? And once my mom passed, it was like that storm passed. Once the storm passes, then they were able to get back and, open the sails, go back on their course, and eventually make it to where they wanted to go to, right? And like you have this course charted out. You want progress. You're trying to get more competitions in. But right now you're in the storm. You have to wait the storm out. And again, I'm speaking from my experience to you. You can take this with a grain of salt. But I think that you need to wait this storm out, because if you start trying to add that added stress in from the competition type training and that performance that you're going to need, to me, it was too much for me. Maybe it's not for you, but it's too much for me. I had to back off. And I had to wait that storm out and wait till it was done, and then I could get back to what I was doing. And I think that probably for you, it seems like you're in the situation right now where you're starting to bust apart at the seams like I was, because like you, I became I was starting to coach right when this is all happening, and I was trying to be there for all these students. I'm going through all this new stuff with my students. I'm trying to be there for them. I'm trying to be there for my mom. I'm trying to be there for myself. I'm trying to be there for everybody around me, and I'm literally getting ripped apart at the seams. I had to back off. I had to back off so that I could have a little bit left in the tank to share with everybody, right, at that point. I couldn't give myself much because, competing is a selfish thing. Competing means you have to focus on yourself a lot. And at that point, I was giving away to my students. I'm giving away to my mother, my family. I couldn't give away much more to me, so I had to back off a little bit. And hopefully in that situation, if you back off a little bit, you'll be able to maintain your training and teaching and all that stuff, and you'll be able to be there for your father in the best way possible while he's going through this. And then once things do what they're supposed to do, you can get back to normal, and you can, again, open the sails up, and you can make it back onto your charted course. The last thing I'll leave this video with you, again, this isn't the normal, like, yeah, go get him Chewy video, right? But it is what it is. Be happy that you have a father that is going to leave a void in you, right? I think about this all the time. I know so many people that don't have the relationship with their father or their mother, or they don't have a lot of friends that really are there for them, the people that are real close to them, right? People sometimes lack these close relationships. And, as much as it hurt that my mother is gone and that when she left, it was terrible. But the thing that really helped me was, again, over and over again, I would remember all the good things that happened, right? I remember that I had a mother that was so good that I just couldn't help but remember her, right? And that she did so much good stuff for me. And for you, man, you have this father. I saw your Facebook where your father came to one of your competitions, right? He's sick, but he's coming over to your competitions and he's there for you, right? That's a beautiful thing, man. Be happy you have that, because not everybody has that, man. And, so, with that said, brother, I hope that this video is helpful to you, and it's a shitty situation, but I wish you the best of luck. let the storm ride out, and once it's done, get back to where you're going. And thank you for the question, Bob.